The streets of Laifa were flooded with its inhabitants, both strangers and citizens, as they all hurriedly ran past each other for safety at the sound of the heavy storm. Everyone was terrified. The streets knew no peace. Young and old wished the storm was just a nightmare. How cloudy was the atmosphere, darkness covered the city, hearts of men skipped frequently as thunder and lightning frightened all with its hilarious sounds as if on a mission to kill someone. Families got scattered as everyone ran for his or her safety without looking back. The storm was dreadful, buildings were pulled up by the mighty wind, there was an earthquake that took the lives of many. The horrible incident was first of its kind and nobody could trace the cause after the disaster stopped, though it took hours. Was this an adventure for Eric, who just arrived into this city of Laifa with his parents on vacation from his school? If it was, then a terrific one that nearly took his life, though he lost his parents to the storm. He regrets ever embarking on the journey, but nobody knew it would result to a painful one. He wandered in the streets of Laifa, which was deserted at the presence of the storm. He had no place to stay, no food to eat, and nobody welcomed him because all were still passing through the trauma of the disaster. Most people were rendered homeless. It took time for them to be back on their feet as they struggled for survival. The federal government quickly came to the aid of the city of Laifa. Damaged structures were reconstructed, only lost lives were never brought back. What a solemn pity. Eric never blamed all the people he ran into for help. He slept by the roadside under the coldness of the night. He gradually started picking leftover food dropped by the roadside. His mentality was changing into that of a madman until the day he was knocked down by a reckless driver who never stopped after he noticed that the boy Eric was already in a pool of blood, lifeless. The reckless driver drove off as people who heard the shout of Eric and the loud brake sound ran out. They rendered curses on the unseen driver, who had disappeared at their appearance. They rushed Eric to the community health center cause he was unconscious as a result of smashing his head on the tiled road. Eric was given quick attention by the nurses and doctors. He soon started responding to all the treatments administered. Everyone in the health center loved Eric. He got gifts and praises from all that came in contact with him, but what made him to be favored before all was still an unknown mystery to him. One of the senior nurses, Mrs. Stella, loved Eric from her first sight on him. She made food available for him while he was still at the health center taking treatment. During the discharge of Eric, Mrs. Stella made all the necessary papers available for child adoption after she heard that Eric was now an orphan as a result of the previous disaster in their city. Eric was adopted by Mrs. Stella, who was a single mother. She had a son called Johnson. She cherished Eric because he was smart, homely and respectful, just the opposite of Johnson, who had bad gangs he mingled with all time. Mrs. Stella found comfort at the appearance of Eric into her family. She earned a lot money, though a single mother, yet she provided everything needed at home for good pleasure. Johnson was 3 years younger than Eric, but he maltreated Eric. He fought Eric often, and gets Eric injured since he was badly exposed to evil groups. Eric felt intimidated, yet he never misbehaved and everyone in the neighborhood loved him. The aura of Eric brought great blessings to Mrs. Stella, which made Johnson envious of him. Eric did all the house chores without complaint. He hardly leaves the house unless he wants to run an errand. Johnson spent most of his time outside with his bad gangs. They steal people's things often, beat up anyone that challenged their orders. People trembled at the presence of every night. All were scared and hoping not to be visited by Johnson's gangs, who used night as their own day. Johnson's gangs were so notorious in the city. They smoked, molested girls, and even women. Killing was what they derived pleasure in, and all these hurt Mrs. Stella, who wished her son, Johnson, will turn a new leaf. She often told Eric to speak with Johnson, try to reshape his life for good, and make him abstain from evil, which Eric did, but all resulted to him being brutally injured by Johnson and his gangs. "Mummy, your phone is ringing," said Eric, who was sitting on the sofa close to the phone. Mrs. Stella hurriedly dashed out from the kitchen to answer her call. "Hello, Mrs. Stella," said the caller. "We are happy to inform you that your gadget, iPhone, needed for your new function under your promotion at the Ministry of Health has arrived. Please kindly go to our nearby office to claim your parcel." She was overwhelmed with joy. Goose pimples appeared all over her body as she continually jumped up and down, expressing her joy. Eric joined in the celebration. They danced all day, praising God for opening their chapter. Mrs. Stella had been seeking for this promotion for many years now. Finally she has been favored. Johnson heard of his mother's parcel, iPhone, that will be received by Eric as instructed by Mrs. Stella, who is always busy at the health center. Johnson and his cohort started making plans on how to attack Eric once he receives the parcel, kill him if he behaves stubborn. 2 guys were set out for the mission. Johnson gave them update concerning the location to meet Eric and his dressing code. Happily, Eric took off to receive the iPhone from the office address given to him. He went with Mrs. Stella's identity card to prove that he was been sent by the owner. He signed all the necessary documents and was finally given the iPhone. He majestically headed home without looking back. Never did it occur to him that he was been followed by 2 bad boys. The 2 boys closely followed Eric, pretending to be heading the same direction with Eric. Getting to a lonely track, the 2 bad boys attacked Eric. There was a furious martial combat between Eric and the 2 boys. They later succeeded in defeating Eric, who was now screaming for help as the 2 guys snatched the iPhone from him and ran away. People within that axis ran after the 2 boys who were with the iPhone. They shouted for more help as they ran after the 2 boys. Unluckily for the 2 boys, aggressive men and women caught them with the Apple product and they beat the boys to stupor. The police ran into the scene, handcuffed the 2 boys who were already brutally bruised by people who sought for judgment and peace in the city of Laifa. Eric was taken to the station to give account of what transpired. Mrs. Stella came to the station and saw Eric with bruises, and the iPhone was with him. She was sorrowful as she hugged him. The iPhone has finally exposed Johnson and his gangs, and they were sentenced to life imprisonment.